Welcome to Towle Talks. Finally, we can set our team. So in this lecture, we're going to finish up what we started last video. I'm going to show you how to associate the lobby player with the network player object. Again, this is not trivial, or at least I could not find a trivial way of doing it, so please pay attention. But once we're finished with this, you should be able to provide any options for the user to select during the lobby and apply it to the network game once it starts.
Hello, and welcome to the third networking tutorial. Now, this tutorial is probably one of the most tricky parts or the most unintuitive parts of the networking in Unity. And that is, right now we have a network lobby player that now can contain our own information, in this case a team color, but we have no way of getting it to the player object. So we're going to keep everything exactly the same, except we're going to go in and we're going to modify the player object substantially. So I don't think we actually have changed anything in, you don't have to worry about this. I was testing something else. In fact, this whole thing is actually not going to work, so ignore that. Now, we have start, we have update, hit button, which just sends the team color to our command, which then sets the color, and awake, which is to destroy our object. Essentially, we haven't touched my network lobby player. So save that. Now, the problem is there is no easy way to associate. I would assume that the network lobby or my network lobby had some sort of way to say, okay, this is player ID, whatever corresponding to this player ID, but I have yet to find that. So the only way I've found to associate these two together is by the following. So what I'm going to say is public rigid body my rig, just the same thing we've had. I'm going to add public my network lobby player, the component, my network lobby player we made, my lobby, and I'm going to have, again, I'm going to have a sync var, it's public color 32, my color. I'm going to set it default to gray. So now this is on the player object, not the network lobby player. Now under if is start, I'm going to add a substantial amount of code. So let's walk through this real quick. We're going to have my network lobby player result equals game object dot find object of type network my network lobby player. This is going to return an array of my network lobby players. It's an easy way to get this particular component. Then I'm going to go through the entire array, and if now this is the part that took me a substantial amount of time, so please pay attention. If result I, so result bracket I is going to be the individual my network lobby players, dot connection to client. By the way, this method has to be invoked on isServer. So this has to be inside isServer. So if the connection to the client is equal to this dot connection to the client, remember our player is a network behavior, inherits network behavior, so we also, if we're under the server, have this dot connection to client. If that's true, then the network lobby player is associated as network player. So, and I have a debug statement if inside if statement lobby equals result I. So I set the value for my lobby player, and then I set the color equal to the result bracket I dot choice inside starting the server. Now I thought about trying to do an RPC call or a command call, but if you do not want to send commands or RPC calls inside start, and the reason you don't want to do it inside start is because you have a race condition. So client or host starts the game, creates this object. The object sends the RPC call or command. However, client machine has just got the command, is processing it, and is forming the object. Does not have the object formed correctly when it receives this RPC or command call. So when that happens, this command or RPC is dropped, it's as if it never was sent. So if you find yourself, in a strange situation where you're sending the right commands, you're sending the right RPCs, and just things aren't changing where there should be, make sure you're not calling it inside start. If you are, then you're most likely have a very, very tricky race condition. So I just wanted to mention that. RPC, by the way, is remote procedure call. It's designed for servers to run code on the client. So it's kind of the reverse of a command. The command is sending the client's asking the server to run a method. The RPC call is the server asking the client to run a method. Usually you don't need these as much as long as you're using sync vars. Remember, sync var is only going to change if the variable on the server changes, and then that change will be propagated through the entire network. And then here I say this.transform.getChild is going to equal get component light, and then the dot color of the light is going to equal my color, which is a choice I just made, and then my rig, and then I'm going to set my rig. Now, this is okay, except this will only work on the server. So I actually don't need this here. What I did is down here on the update, I said this.transformChild bracket 0.getComponentLight.color equals my color. So I'm just updating the color every time. You say that's wasteful. That is wasteful. What I could do instead is have another variable called init. If init was false, then it would run this and set init to set itself to true, and then I would, or I could keep doing this until I got a color that wasn't gray, and then I would know that my object's been initialized. This again is a race condition. So here, and this, it doesn't really matter, the first time this gets set, it's going to be gray. The chances of me getting the sync var message in time is going to be really rare. So the client is going to be gray, and probably for the first 3 or 4 frames this will be gray, and then the next frame it'll be the right color because it'll get the sync var color, and because the server's changed it here, and then this will be set to the right color. It's going to happen so quickly though the user's not going to know. In situations where you need to know, like I said, you could have an if statement and check to see if some values changed. If the values changed, go ahead and set the values. If the value on the sync var is changed, then set your values and then set like a variable init to false, so it doesn't do that code ever again. That's the other way you can do this. Everything else is going to remain the same. So what I've done, remember we had that point light on top of our cubes. So what I've done is, we'll save file, build and run. And what I've done is you'll see that the top of the cube will reflect the appropriate team's color. So we'll start with this being the server, this being the server, and this being the client. The client will be blue, the server will be red. We'll start both. And now you see it's kind of purplish red. Notice the shaders are different, it's kind of interesting. But if I move, you'll see that this is red. That means that this block has a red light on it, and this cube is reflecting. But now you see that this is blue. If you look closely, this block here has a blue light on top of it, and it's reflecting off the sides here. So it's a little bit hard to see what's going on. You can see it better on this view, but you see that this in fact is blue, and this in fact is red. So I can verify this by clicking on my player objects. See that the player object, the first one, is red, which is true, and the client is blue. And the reason this is red is it's being reflected from this light. So now we see that it works, at least with the editor being the host. Now let's try it again and run it reverse. So close this, close that, build and run. I still have that problem where if I quit the game, I can't restart another game. We're going to deal with that in the next lecture. So don't panic. So now this will be the host, which will be red. This will turn on and be the client, which will be blue. We'll start the game. And now we see that we have blue being reflected. We can definitely see that this is a blue. Definitely see this is a red. We can see the red being reflected so that we know it works. So if we look at this, we can again make sure that our information's been carried over. And our now notice I'm clicking on the player object, not the network lobby players. Last tutorial we had this working, but this tutorial we're talking about transferring information from the network lobby player to the player object, and we see that the first one's red, so the server is red, and that the client, the second one, is blue. And this is on the client side, so we know that the information was successfully transferred to the client side, and notice both the client and the server are painting their objects correctly. So that is how you relate information from the network lobby player to the player object. And again, it doesn't have to be color. It could be what class, maybe like a form of a string or an ID. It could be what, how much health you want, or how much, or what options you want, items, etc., etc. Whatever you need for your game can be transferred from your network lobby player to your player object. And I personally feel this is the most elegant solution, although I'm sure there are others that work quite well, because you automatically have your network lobby player with you. So you may as well use this as a container for user options and then translate the user options onto the player object. One thing I would warn against is trying to instantiate a new player object based on these options. What I would do instead is change the properties of the player object to match the options of the network lobby player, or the options the user selected. Because spawning a new player, spawning a new character is quite difficult and not trivial. So it'd be better to modify this object than try to create a new one.
This has been Towle Talks. Thanks for watching. Now you should be able to take any option you want in a lobby and apply it to the game itself, the network game itself. Thanks again for watching. This has been Towle Talks. Until next time, cheers.